Well, Tim, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Tony. I appreciate
on the
that, man.
Unscripted Arena. It's good to have you in town. I know you travel back and forth between here and LA and all the other places that you have your office at.
Yeah.
Let's tell the audience a little bit about yourself and kind of your background story.
For sure. Happy to do that. But before I do that, do you mind if I jump into some of this whiskey, man? Is that cool, man?
Yeah.
Can we
Let's get
just get real unscripted right now?
Yeah.
You want some?
Yeah, I do though.
Yeah, I'm just sorry. Thanks for bringing this out, dude.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just put a little bit here in this little
Get you that
coffee mug.
It'll wake you up coffee.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Oh man. Well, I mean, Tony, first of all, man, thanks for having me on the podcast. Cheers. On the show. Hi, salud. Good to see you, man. Yeah. Good to see you. Cheers, everyone. Well, a little bit about, I guess, myself, my story. It's interesting because I guess in my professional career, it's around advertising. Mm-hmm. And so I own a multicultural advertising agency called TDW+Co. And it's kind of a funny story because if I were to give you the background history of my childhood and growing up, it was definitely not the most diverse background, but here I'm working in diversity. So it's kind of an interesting story there. I'm the founder of TDW+Co, and I've had the privilege of being in business now for almost 20 years. This year will be our 20-year anniversary in August.
I think I went to your first event.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was a Verizon event.
Yeah, okay.
One of your first.
I know. Yeah, Verizon was a really key client of ours, in the growth phases of the business. And I think we've known each other, for about 15 years or so? Yeah, so they were one of our earlier clients. So it's just been a blessing, man, just being able to see just all the positives, but also a lot of the challenges and just the opportunities over the last 20 years. So today that we have offices, we're headquartered here in Seattle, but have offices in LA, New York, DC. We've been blessed to work on over 100, different brand partners and clients, over 1,000 different campaigns in 30 languages.
Wow.
And so to see how we've evolved over the last 20 years and kind of starting from just me, myself in a living room and kind of an idea.
In the living room.
In the living room.
Yeah.
And literally being like, yo, man, I think there's an opportunity to have a company, a firm, an agency to help to bridge this cultural communications gap between brands and in particular diverse audiences in the Asian American diaspora. So that's kind of seeing it from idea 20 years ago and literally just a $100 business checking account, a laptop, a printer, and just giving it a shot to seeing how it's evolved now. It's been
how did that first client come to you?
So I guess I should also back up and say, before starting the agency, I was working in Seattle's Chinatown International District, doing a lot of clean and safe initiatives. So it was all about, being an advocate for the community. And I grew up in Pullman, Washington. Okay. So Eastern Washington, right? So I talk a little bit
far from diverse.
Far from diverse, right? And so my dad, admired what he has done being an immigrant coming to this country and learning the English, the language, and also teaching at Washington State University and in not his own native tongue, but in English to, students here. So that was my experience growing up in Pullman, not very diverse, one of the few Asian families in town. So once I graduated from high school, I went to a small college in Tacoma, Pacific Lutheran University, and I was able to, play basketball there, college basketball for 4 years, and that was my way of being able to find a sense of belonging because I couldn't.
You don't want to stay at Wazoo?
I wanted to, man. At the time it's cool because there wasn't a lot of folks playing hoops at WSU for the exception of their basketball team. And so we were able to run with some of those cats back in the day, but I wouldn't have been able to get any playing time. At the time, the coach at WSU, Kevin Eastman was like, yo, man, you can come to WSU, but you're not going to get any burn, dude. And you can walk on, you know? So ended up going to PLU, which is a great school. Have nothing bad to say about it, but
play for the team.
Not the most diverse school either, right? So you can imagine like this experience, you know, growing up in Pullman, trying to find a sense of identity and belonging, but really gravitating towards hoops, and going to PLU. Met a lot of really great people, lifelong friends, great experience, but it was a epitome of being the student athlete, right? And then after I graduated from college, it was like, yo, I got to get a JOB. And, you know, I was in between a few tech startups at the time. It was a dot-bomb era, like in 2000, right? So I had worked at a few internet startups and that went under. And then I was going through this personal cultural identity crisis of really trying to find out who I am, like where's my background, where are my roots. And so that's why I wanted to initially kind of work in Seattle's Chinatown International District. And that's how this whole opportunity came about of serving community, but also starting an agency that wants to use communications to be a force for good, and also being able to bridge the gaps between some brands that want to speak to our audience and being able to do it in a meaningful way. So, yeah, I mean, I forgot your original question, dude. My bad, dude.
No, that's good. The first client.
Oh, the first client, dude.
Yeah.
So imagine, you know, starting this company, and I don't have an advertising background, right? I have a community advocacy background. And when I had this idea of wanting to kind of create this company, I didn't really know what, you know, we're going to sell. I didn't know what we're going to offer. I don't know the value that we can add to our clients. But you know, the true essence of community and working in Seattle's Chinatown ID was that they're like, when they first heard that we were going to be doing this consulting work, they just rallied around us and like really supported us in trying to grow our business. So that's why I'm really indebted to, in particular, this neighborhood and them. When they found out that we're starting a consultancy, you know, some of our very first clients were kind of like knocking on our doors saying, hey, how can we help? So it was, you know, International Community Health Services, ICHS. It was Seattle Chinatown International District, PDA. It was the organization that I worked at, the Chinatown International District, BIA. It was, you know, the Wing Luke Museum. So a lot of these community organizations kind of really rallied behind
just
our
for their advertising.
It ranged, man. It was, some of it was helping to produce events.
Okay.
Some of it was like, you know, our consulting assignment for Wing Luke was they were going through their capital campaign. It was how to develop their exterior signage to make sure that they're a visible building and location. And so it was like, you know, kind of odd kind of jobs, projects. Some of it was branding and identity work, right? So it just really ranged the gamut. And, you know, the epitome of me not really knowing what an advertising agency does. It was just like, yeah, well, you need focus groups done on, you know, the Korean community or the Chinese community or the Vietnamese community. Yeah, we can do that. You want us to...
Did you even know what focus groups
were? For real.
Or were you like, what do you need? You like searched?
It was literally...
Because that's the early days of the internet.
The early days of the internet. Dude, this is like dial-up speed, you know, internet, like 56, you know, kilobyte, like download, upload speeds. It was a lot of just not being perfect, but just trying. Just listening and just doing, right? And making a lot of mistakes along the way for sure. But, you know, learning from those mistakes.
Yeah. Do you think that it'd be easier to start the company today or
like what I know now?
What you know now?
Oh man,
or even if you didn't know, right? Because you see all these agencies that have popped up. I see there's guys that used to be realtors and now they're running a 7-figure agency.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like, we just talked a little bit about this earlier, right? Like content creation right now, there's so much content out there and people can produce things that, you know, end up drawing a following and getting advertising. So that's an interesting question, because I wouldn't replace like my personal experience for anything. I feel very grateful for every experience that I've gone through. And I think because at the time when I started, I was 26 years old, right? Like I'm 20 years later, like now what I know, and also what to start in today's environment, there is just so much stuff out there, right? And it seems like there's so much competition no matter what it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, there's probably already an outfit out there doing things, but it doesn't, I think barrier to entry is up to the amount of passion that people have towards whatever it is that they want to do. I think for me 20 years ago, ignorance was bliss, man. It was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to do, and I'm just going to pivot and learn and experience and fail hard. You know,
you didn't have any limits.
I didn't have any limits,
right,
and I didn't have any obligations.
Yeah.
I didn't have, you know, I wasn't, you know, I have an 8-year-old son now. I was, obviously I didn't have a kid at that time, and a lot of freedom, a lot of energy, you know, 26-year-old, like 100-hour working week, Tim. I don't know if I can necessarily sustain that and do that today, right? But that was the hustle back then. So 3 years nonstop. The first 3 years, I had my day job working as the executive director for this, you know, the Chinatown International District BIA, and I moonlit my agency, and so it was easy, 100-hour weeks, no vacation, you know, serving the role with community, but also trying to build the business on the side and trying to learn like what I'm doing, like what am I supposed to be doing. So
was there any moment where you're running your business and you're like, why am I doing this? I should just go take the experience you already have and go find a day job?
Yeah, man. I mean, I want to say that I think I was so, I'm a horse, like in terms of just my Chinese zodiac. You know, I was born 78, so I'm the year of the horse. And so, you know, I was just galloping, dude.
Yeah.
And I was just like going out there, but I had my blinders on. So I'm just working and just like galloping and just free spirit, just trying to do as much as I can. There were several moments in the time of the agency's life where I was literally like, I have no money to my name. I'm in the earlier times of the agency's life, like 5-digit debt.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to make payroll. At the time, I had maybe a few contractors or a few employees. I don't know how I'm going to make rent. And then fast forward, you know, even as recent as I would say in 2016, even after having been in business for about 12 years, just it repeating itself, saying, yo, man, I have no money to my name. My level of debt, it was no longer 5 digits or 6 digits. It was 7-digit debt. And literally, like,
and now you have a workforce.
Yeah, now I have a workforce of 35 people. How am I going to sustain this, right? And so there's been so many moments during this time where I'm like, is it really, like, is what I'm doing worth it? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And so I come from a family of faith.
Yeah.
Right. And so like there are many times out of utter despair is just like, you know, is this something that I'm supposed to be doing?
Right.
And in all of those moments when I've kind of had some doubts, there have been just moments where I feel like I could do as much as I can on my own and try as hard as I can on my own. But there has been a lot of gratitude and grace that has been provided to me along the way that I cannot deny is not something that I've necessarily earned for myself. This is like being put in the right place at the right time and being equipped to be able to respond to that moment, to that window of opportunity that did open up, that has allowed us to survive, and actually not just survive, but thrive and flourish, you know? And so I always come at it with like, I try to come at it with a humble spirit and attitude, and that like we can work as hard as we can on our own, but there are some things that are outside of our control.
Yeah.
that is just whether or not we are ready to accept that opportunity, deliver on that opportunity. We'll take the risk to go after that opportunity, and I've been fortunate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Because here you are. Another 8 years
later. Well, we just talked about it, on the way over here. Like, honestly, it's an ebb and flow, ups and downs, and we're going through a moment, ourselves at this moment, but it's like, how do we welcome those challenges and turning them into learning experiences so we can be refined, we can get better, we can get stronger. Because the day and the moment when we think that we have it all figured out, that it's like coasting, that's not a good attitude or mindset or place to be in.
It's there's a term I use for it. It's like, it's comfortable, but really there's something on the horizon that's going to get you very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with being content, right? Yeah. There's nothing wrong with celebrating your wins and successes and enjoying that, right? We should be celebrating those moments, but on the flip side, sometimes when we're going through some of these difficult challenges, and I wonder to myself, like, yo, man, is this worth it? I've invested so much time, effort, money, resources, sacrificing family for this. Is it worth it? And I do believe that if you're truly passionate something, good things will come from that. Yeah.
And especially with the faith, right? Because you're in business for 12 years at that turning point, right? Or that inflection point. And that opportunity opens up. I've seen this in other business owners that I've worked with and talked with, and just something opens up. It wasn't on the horizon, but because of the faith, you know, it's like you're being prepared to see how you handle stress. And if you can trust in that process that you've already built up, and then you're developing that that resilience muscle.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be curious to see. I love that perspective, Tony, because I'd be curious to see like what are common traits that you see within successful professionals, no matter if it's in business or in education or in science, whatever that might be, right? And I'd like to say that, one of the things that does come across as a underlying theme is grit.
Yeah, grit and resilience.
Right? So,
faith.
And faith, because you have to have a certain level of, I think, belief or conviction.
Yeah.
Not to say that we don't have our down moments, but I think, yeah, man, the grittiness comes through in the failures, right?
Yeah.
The hard times. And it's how do we actually like handle those moments?
How do you respond?
Exactly.
And your attitude.
The attitude.
During that moment.
Yeah.
Because then it goes back to what you said earlier about gratitude. Are you thankful that you're in this challenge?
Yeah.
Because most people don't have that challenge.
That's a good point.
They don't have the opportunity to even be challenged like that.
Yeah.
Because usually if you're just a worker, right, or an employee, you're just going through your day. If you fail, you're going to wake up the next day, you still have your job.
Right.
If you fail as a business owner, that could be a lost client.
Lost client, which equals
lost revenue.
Lost revenue, which equals, team members' livelihoods, right? Their families, the responsibility that we have towards them. So, I mean, yeah, man, it's been an interesting ride, this journey. And I mean, Tony, you've shared kind of some of your experiences as well. Like, you have your book of business, right? Yep. And you've built it from basically the ground up. And
I share the same experience as you.
Absolutely.
You start asking yourself, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Do I just go join another team that's already built up their deal, right?
Yeah.
But then something comes along and it's like, okay, this is where I should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And it's just the world preparing you for that next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. And so even us right now, arguably, we've been able to have some of the most successful, largest Asian advertising campaigns in the history of our business.
Yeah.
We're still going through our own moments as well, and it's just how do we respond to that? So it's been a lot of fun though along the way. Yeah, I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't replace that experience for anything.
So what's been the most exciting project that you've worked on?
Yeah,
that you're saying, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah,
and this is why I do what I do.
Yeah, I've referenced two of the largest like Asian advertising campaigns in history, and how I quantify that is the amount of paid media investment that we were able to be stewards of, to be able to invest in media that reached the diversity of the Asian American audiences, right? So those two campaigns were the 2020 census and making sure that all Asian households responded to the census and are counted, because it's a direct reflection on representation, right? And the second was actually working on a national federal communications contract with the Department of Health and Human Services in response to COVID-19, and being able to work on a national campaign to increase varying degrees of education and levels of confidence for vaccine uptake, right? And so when I started the agency, one of the things that was really important to me was making sure that the campaigns that we developed were a win-win situation for the brands and the consumer. Right? Oftentimes, I think advertising somewhat has a kind of a negative connotation in industry, and saying that's like, oh, you just want to sell goods and services to people that don't need those goods and services just to sell, because that's capitalism, right?
Yeah.
And so my belief has always been, if you are a brand, you support the community and you want to do good by them, they will give you their share of wallet. If you're a good corporate social responsible citizen and you care about what they care about, they'll give you love. And so it's been a hypothesis that I've been kind of trying to prove since the inception. And 20 years later, I'm very proud to say that, not every campaign that we work on gets to demonstrate that win-win-win situation. The brand wins, the community wins, we win as an agency, but we at least have an opportunity to ask that question. We have an opportunity and right to advocate on behalf of our community to say, yo, okay, so this campaign, let's say, for example, you want to sell this good, this product, this service. Okay, cool, I get it. You're the client, you're going to pay our bills, but how does the community win, right, through this campaign? Are we elevating a story? Are we talking about something that our community needs to hear? Are we responding to Stop Asian Hate? Are we, increasing representation of our community on camera, behind camera? What are we doing here, right? And so over the course of our 20 years, man, we've, worked on a lot of really meaningful campaigns. So those two campaigns that were the largest, one was the census being representation, the second one being health.
Yeah.
But, those two stand out. It's different for each brand that we work with. And our goal is just to try and achieve that win-win-win situation where the clients get results from the campaign, and the community also is supported in a meaningful way. Yeah.
And is there instances where the company has undertaken that path and I've seen the results of that, triple bottom line, if you will?
Yeah, man. I think I'll take census for an example. Just the given fact that we had the opportunity to be stewards of tens of millions of dollars being distributed and funneled into ethnic media, whether it's in TV, radio, print. These are small mom and pop businesses that run publishers and media outlets to serve their Asian language communities. And so the fact that we had the opportunity to invest in over 1,000 media publishers, many of which are independent, minority owned, women owned, small businesses, and to be able to get the word out about the importance of filling out the census, for example, right? And so not only was it a cause-oriented campaign, but it was also a huge economic boost to a lot of these businesses that we were investing money in media, in being able to communicate to 18 Asian language audiences, right? The results actually showed that 2020 census data came out and they reported the fact that the Asian audience could have potentially had an overcount this last decennial. And so those are some of the things that we're kind of working through right now. But it did show that over the last 10 years, the Asian audience was the fastest growing racial group over the last 10 years, growing 35.5% over the last 10 years.
More than the Latino?
More than Latino.
Really?
Yeah. By percentage. And collectively, I think all the multicultural groups outpaced, the general market. But I would also say too, at 24 million people strong now, representing 7% of the entire U.S. population, including Asian, but also mixed race, inclusive of Asian, is a direct result, I think, from a lot of our communications, advertising, outreach, campaign work to make sure that we're counted. So we're really proud of that.
And do brands support this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say that our client was the U.S. Census Bureau. And so they were like, dude, like it's a win for us. And, we do hope that it can be used as kind of a benchmark, a case study for how to really responsibly engage in our communities. So, but on that note, you talked, have brands appreciated it? I would always say that, like, yes, because corporate America, I would say, while there's progress in working on diversity, equity, inclusiveness, and belonging initiatives, it does appear to me that right now what we've seen in the industry is that it's taken a back seat to driving the bottom line, gaining efficiencies. How can we save some money so we can make more money? And so
it almost seems like DEI is taking a backseat starting last year,
right?
And a lot of DEI people that I know, they either got laid off or they're pretty mum about it.
I mean, there's been a lot of, I would say, letters written, posts made, content on websites, press releases from companies saying that, they support Black Lives Matter. They want to respond to Stop Asian Hate, that they want to increase their efforts. But when it comes down to putting the money where the mouth is, we can definitely see more there. And in fact, actually, like you said, like in the last year or so, we've seen a decline actually in investment with our communities. And that's sad, because I think it shouldn't just be like a flavor of the month kind of an activity or a flavor of the year. It really should be an ongoing daily routine.
Yeah, because it seemed like, during the height of the pandemic and everything, it just seems like these pockets and, social media amplifies the message with the Black Lives, Stop Asian Hate. I quite frankly, I didn't even think that there was a Asian hate going on. But just to see that, it's like, okay, then you got these brands latching onto it, almost as if just to latch on to do like a product placement and say, yeah, we support you. buy this.
This is unscripted, right, for a reason,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because I'm like, how real am I going to get and be about this?
Yeah.
And I am feeling the liquid courage right now just to just say my piece, man. I think more can be done, dude.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, it's too much lip service. It's too much of this, like, in the moment of 2021, I'm going to say this. In the moment of in response to George Floyd's murder, we're gonna really be proponents of this. But at the end of the day, man, like, who's checking up on these brands that are making these statements?
Well, it's the corporations. It's this entity. It's like AI. So when people speak of AI, they speak as if it's a somebody, right?
Yeah,
but it's just a piece of tech.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
Yeah, and it was interesting. I was just on a call earlier today of this trade organization that is all about inclusive and multicultural marketing, and there's been a lot of statements made, full page ads taken on the New York Times, USA Today, a lot of articles written up about like all these companies and their CMOs and CEOs endorsing inclusiveness, right? And so it is time for us to be like, hey, remember this article that came out in 2020, 2021? How are we doing there?
Yeah.
How are we doing? What are we doing about that? Let's look at like your investment in our communities, whether it's like community grants, education, funding, beyond just advertising, beyond spending money in these communities with these audiences. Like, how's the overall infrastructure doing in building up this inclusive ecosystem within your own organization? Right? Like,
why is it difficult for them? Because to me, right, if we're looking at this as a business, it's here's a market, let's design something for this market. Here's another market, let's design something for this market. And everybody's happy. So why does it have to be this big deal? If X% of revenue could be had from this group, you tailor your product to that group. If there's a certain percentage here, why don't you just do that? So why is it difficult?
It makes sense, right? It's like it like logically speaking, of course. I mean, yeah, if you see that multicultural audiences are fueling 100% of the growth in consumer buying and purchasing power, why wouldn't brands invest in these communities more heavily? And
it's like the Cheetos example.
Right.
You ever watch the story of that guy?
Yeah, I did. That was a pretty
It was an amazing story.
Amazing story.
Right?
It's so funny. I actually reached out to the gentleman that the story was written after, right? And he accepted my LinkedIn. So I'm gonna try and connect with him to like learn a little bit more about like, hey, how can we share more of this in corporate America? So I think, to answer your question, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to being unscripted again, corporate greed, man.
Yeah.
It's just how can we just not necessarily change too much of what we're doing, optimize and gain as much efficiency as possible, and really deliver on shareholder value, right? It's a capitalist society, and that's how these companies are built off of, to make as much money as possible for shareholder value.
But who's the shareholder?
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Is it the index fund? Is it the
right? I would say, yeah. I mean,
who's really the shareholder?
We really need to take a look at that, right, and see who's a part of that, and how we.
Because I know it's not the minority community. I'll tell you that.
Right.
Big shout out and a huge thank you to Zeakin for making this happen. They have an amazing platform. Check out their website, zeakin.com, zeacon.com.
So we're talking about some very macro level things in the advertising industry ecosystem that's just been really hard to change. And I'm not saying there isn't progress, man. There's a lot of people that have come out and said that we want to like increase diverse spend. We want to grow the amount of media that we invest in Black, Hispanic, Asian, LGBTQ, women-owned business enterprises. But then when you look at like the increase in growth, when I hear things like, oh yeah, we increased our spend in Black media from 1% to like 3%. And I'm like, okay, you want a cookie? What do you, I mean, good for you as progress, but come on, man. Like that, the Black, African-American Black community represents, more than that in terms of the number of media publishers that are out there, their reach to the people.
Look at Magic Johnson's business.
No.
It's all pretty much that community.
Yeah.
And he's just killing it. So it's almost like you don't need to look far to see an example of what happens when you spend on the community.
Right.
It's like it's in front of your face.
Yeah.
Like, what more research do you need?
Yeah. And man, I know that Tony, you and I come from that same community and have that same mindset. It's about like, do we need like allies, man? Do we need like, our white brothers and sisters that are in the community to be able to advocate, while we also have our Black, Brown, and Asian brothers and sisters as well, just advocating? And I think, it's going to take a village, right?
Yeah.
To raise this topic to the forefront. So I think that we all have a part to play in helping to find those solutions. And, for us, what we're committed to at least at TDW+Co, and then our day-to-day jobs, is ensuring that whomever we work with on the client side is, how do you win as the brand? How do the diverse consumers win and their communities in which they live, work, and play? And what kind of meaningful campaigns and dialogue we can produce. So, yeah, I mean, we're committed to that. That's been our ethos. That's been our mission since day one. And so we're going to try to do that more through scale, through our brand partners. And yeah, we'll see what the future brings.
Yeah. So speaking of future, what do you think of AI?
Man.
And as it relates to your business and the type of work that you could leverage using that for your clients. I mean, I imagine that AI would be a really good tool to gathering the army of data that you need to support why people need to do these multicultural initiatives.
Yeah. I think AI can definitely be a very valuable tool. And for those of us that haven't been dabbling or experiencing it, I think we're kind of got to join the party. You just got to understand and learn some of these tools. I think for us, from a multicultural advertising perspective, and when it comes down to like representation, are there enough inputs that are representative of our community through visuals, whether it's actual people or whether it's the context of the environment and places, whether it's, the things that we define culture, like whether it's food or music, these passion points, right? Are there enough inputs in there that is representative given the entire, ecosystem of what Google can pick up, right?
Yeah.
And I think we enter into maybe a challenging area in our business where I think, we want to make sure that there's authentic and accurate representation of our community in everything that we do. And so how is that being fact checked, with what results come back from AI? Now, I think from a concepting perspective, we've definitely used AI as a way to deliver a visual representation of an idea to a client.
Yeah.
So they get it. They're like, oh, I see what you mean. And there's a lot of efficiencies gained from that, instead of like having an art director like mock up, a mood board with all the different like elements, right? So AI can really kind of benefit in that realm.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I read an article, I don't know if you saw it, but I think it was something where Meta couldn't picture an Asian man with a white girl.
See?
Like
So
it wouldn't draw it up, even, and it shows the prompt,
Mhm.
right? Draw a picture of an Asian man, and it came up an Asian girl.
right. So I think those things
But
are
it
all
goes
really,
back to like you don't see that normally, right?
yeah.
But if you flipped it,
Oh, dude,
a
yeah.
white guy with Asian
Oh,
girl,
yeah.
all day
That's
long,
all day long, all day long, right? And so it's interesting you say that, right? Because I don't mean to like kind of deviate from the topic, but we're very proud of our work with Disney
Yeah.
because we've had the opportunity of doing a lot of firsts,
Mhm.
right? It's all about representation. How many people can actually see themselves in the films that they're a part of? So we were part of.
Yeah, they leaned in pretty hard on.
Yeah, I mean, this is during also the times of COVID when we were kind of cooped up and we were gravitating towards like content and streaming, and so we were part of Raya um and the Dragon, and so I would say that Raya was the first Southeast Asian woman warrior princess.
Mm. So
First
it wasn't Mulan.
Southeast Asian,
Oh,
right?
Southeast
Mulan is
Asian.
Chinese,
Okay,
right?
sure.
So Mulan
I
is
see.
yeah. So Southeast Asian. So we're part of that process, right? You know, we had the opportunity of being able to work with Shang-Chi, you know, and being
Yeah.
able to do the publicity. So the first Asian American Marvel superhero,
So
you
you got
know,
a chance to work on that.
yeah. So
Wow.
like being able to work on these campaigns that really can help to begin to depict
Hmm.
Asian women, Asian men in a different light,
Yeah.
right? And so like,
As opposed to just the calculator and
yeah, right.
yeah,
And so whether
smart
you're,
guy.
you know, and unfortunately, like you know, in the last 30 years, it's only really, you know, before Crazy Rich Asians came out in 2018, the last full feature Asian American cast in Hollywood, a leading cast, it was Joy Luck Club, you know?
Yeah.
It's been 25 years since we had
It's
an
a long
all
time.
Asian cast for a Hollywood major
There's
motion
that guy
picture.
in Fast and the Furious, the lead villain.
Yeah, so
Asian.
yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
there's definitely Asians that have popped up in different films, but
But not like all.
my point is, yeah,
I
Crazy
see.
Rich Asians was
Yeah.
predominantly Asian, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, to lead with that kind of a film, don't get me wrong, like, it's a start, and it helped to open up the gates for
Mhm.
a lot of Asian American films, narratives, content, and we've seen the success in box office. We've seen the success also, you know, through awards, right?
Yeah.
Through the Oscars, through the Emmys. There's been a lot of amazing success. And I think that Crazy Rich Asians help to demonstrate there is a need and there's a hunger for this
Mhm.
type of content, right? But back to your point, right? Like,
Yeah.
so the AI is about like, it can't draw up an Asian dude with a white girl because where is it ever depicted
Yeah.
in motion pictures, right?
Yeah, or any data point.
Any data point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, that exists. Yeah, it does. You know, there's a lot of diversity of Asian male.
Well, there's Bruce Lee.
Yeah, Bruce, man. I mean, well, first, Bruce Lee, man, like he transcended, I think, a lot of Asian American belief and culture into the mainstream and popularized it,
Mhm.
right? And it happened to be through not just his martial arts, but a way of being, right?
Yeah.
And so
Till this day.
till this day.
Yeah.
And you know, we celebrate Bruce and feel very fortunate to be involved with the Bruce Lee Foundation and their focus on mental health. And he was like one of the first pioneers of bringing unity,
Yeah.
like, you know, being able to bring people from different backgrounds together also
Yep.
to be able to learn his style of martial arts, which I love, man. You know, he was not like, hey, only this isolated group can learn my style. Anybody who wants to.
It's also like a precursor to mixed martial arts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he opened it up to, you know, be like water,
Yeah.
so to speak. Whether
Yeah.
it's standing around you take the fight on standing around the ground.
Yeah.
So he's a pioneer in that sense as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, when I was growing up in Pullman, you know, when people would reference me as like, hey man, Bruce Lee, I would take that with pride, dude. It wasn't like a thing that was like, oh, what, you just think I know martial arts? No, it was like, yo, man, I love Bruce. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for saying that. And I don't know if you meant it to be a compliment or not, but I take it as a compliment, and I'm gonna get buckets, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get buckets. All right. So,
what position did you play?
I was a point guard, shooting guard.
Okay.
You know, being 6 foot with my shoes on a good day. Asian cat hooping, was typically one of the smaller dudes, but yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. I still keep in touch with a lot of the guys that I hooped with in college, and in fact, actually, still pretty active in playing at the Washington Athletic Club. We're on these travel squads, and we play against these other, um, private athletic clubs across the country. We actually are training for a tournament coming up in May in Detroit.
So is this like a 5-on-5 or?
Yeah, man, it's 5-on-5. It's uniforms. It's referees. There's like tournaments. There's like people in the stands. It's like a big deal, man. People travel in from all over. And this year's national tournament's being held at the Detroit Athletic Club.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's going to be in the middle part of May. I'll let you know
how
we do. So we have different divisions, right? So there used to be like, I used to play on the open team, which is like the elite, and like it's just like anybody can play. And then as you get older, you're like, oh man, I'm on the A team now. And then as you get older, AA is like 35 and over. Yeah. And Masters. So 45, you know it. I'm 45 and over, Masters division, man. So I just turned 46 this year. But yeah, man, I'm one of the younger cats on the Masters team. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun.
You shooting threes or?
Man, that's all I do now, man. Is that what because I'm so old and sore. Yeah. Like if you're gonna ask me to play defense or rebound, probably not. I'm probably not going to be able to do that, but I will shoot the three. Yeah, I will definitely shoot the three. I see Jeremy Lin up in here, man. Yeah. He stole my dreams, man. He didn't steal my dreams. He actually fulfilled them. I can't be salty about that.
Is he still playing?
Yeah, dude. He's in Taiwan, man. He's crushing it. Another cool thing is we got to work with him and his team for the release of the film Linsanity. So we did the premiere for Linsanity. That was a lot of fun with Verizon. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, that was pretty cool. So yeah, man. I mean, it's all about representation. It's kind of interesting now because now we're starting to see more Asian talent on the court, on the basketball court, on the football field. The baseball field. I mean, you can talk about any sport right now, and you can identify like Asian American talent, which is.
Yeah, I think UW has an Asian safety. It's the first time I've heard of an Asian safety. It's a guy
right now, yeah,
yeah. So I thought that was interesting. Cause you never hear of Asians playing football.
Yeah, I mean,
or let alone being that big to play.
Yeah, to play it like what used to be the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be Big Ten.
Big Ten. Oh, yeah, man. That team got raided.
Dude, I don't even want to go there. Growing up in Pullman, right? I was a big WSU fan. And so just being able to see them be leftovers from the Pac-12 becoming now just the Pac-2.
Just them in Oregon State.
Yeah.
And then now they're playing all these mid-major schools.
Hey, I mean, yeah, I don't know how that's going to turn out, man. But yeah.
I mean, you're in advertising, right? So, is it more money for UW and all those other schools to go to the Big Ten?
It's all about the money.
So, yeah. But that market is bigger.
It comes down to advertising, right? The TV deals that collect on the hundreds of millions, the billions of dollars in advertising revenue. Each of the schools that have these bigger TV deals as part of these conferences are getting paid, right? And so I can't fault UW for doing it because it's going to equip their student athletes with resources. It's kind of unfortunate, right? Because the Pac-12 is the conference of champions, right? It's like it's a revered conference, and unfortunately we can't see that in what it used to be. So it'll be interesting to see like what WSU and Oregon State does. And, they have some money to work with from what I understand and reading into the news and media, and how they're going to hopefully try to rebuild the conference. So, yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, now the visibility's going to disappear.
Yeah.
Practically, because people tune in for each other's teams. And when you have a mid-major school, it's a smaller audience.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be really curious to see what happens, and especially since we just brought Pat Chun over, right?
Mm-hmm.
The athletic director that used to be at Wazoo and now is at UW.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how Wazoo is able to continue and gain momentum. And I see some of these photos coming up here, right? And watching their basketball team.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they did well this year.
Yeah, they did really well. Went to March Madness. I was rooting for them, but they have like 7 people already that's declared for the portal.
Yeah, I read that today. I'm like, man.
So
the NIL has done. It's a nightmare for these recruiters.
Well,
and teams.
This is the new day and age of, I think, college athletics. It's like, yeah, it's name, image, and likeness, and who's going to give me the best deal wherever school I go to. And because of the transfer portals making it so easy for kids to go laterally or to go to a different school, I mean, it's going to come down to.
And then where do they get their degree?
Right.
If you do 2 years at one school, who's handing out that degree?
It's wherever they end.
Yeah.
If they even end, man. Some of these kids are like, I'll stay in school for 4 years, maximize my money that way, and then I'll hold off on going to the league. But then, am I going to get my degree? I don't know. Maybe I will.
Go buy some franchises, start some businesses.
Buy some houses. If you have the right invest in some money in wealth management.
Yeah. If they have the right people.
They're starting early, man. Yeah. They're starting early. Man, that should be the place where maybe, yeah.
No, I've talked to some people that are involved in that. He goes, you don't want to touch that.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know. It's
you become a babysitter. And,
it's an interesting time, dude.
Yeah.
It's an interesting time, but we kind of went all over the place, right, Tony? Man,
that's what it is.
It is what it is, man. I love it though. I love it.
But what are you excited for in your business for these next for this year? And then what are some of the advice that you could give aspiring advertisers or agencies that are looking to grow? They're multicultural.
I mean, 2024 is the year of the dragon, right? So it's an auspicious year, and I want to say that we're looking forward to what this year has to bring. Grinding and working hard, and we're going through pivots and ebbs and flows. But I think we're beginning to see some interest from new advertisers in our space. And so it's been really neat to be able to have some of those conversations and being able to work on kind of pilot projects for them and for them to be new to our industry and investing. So I'm looking forward to growing those relationships and partnerships. I think personally, man, I think this being my 20th year in business, I mean, I mentioned earlier, I have an 8-year-old, right?
Yeah.
His name is Elijah. I really want to focus on more time with him.
Yeah.
I want to take better care of myself physically, mentally, spiritually. I put in 190,000 air miles last year, right? And so, Alaska loved me, man. So I love Alaska too because they're a client. So I love me some Alaska as well. But what I'll say is, I just want to take a moment to spend more time and being in the present with my son and my parents that are aging as well. My dad's 80, my mom's 79. And we decided during COVID to just move in together in an intergenerational household. So playing more hoops. So I'm really excited about that because I'm feeling better, you know, physically and emotionally, mentally.
And the business is at a good place. So
the business
kind of
the business
off a little.
The business is always going to be a work in progress, right? It's continuous learning. but we have a really great team that's really supporting the work. Again, it's not all on my own. It's, a really great squad that has really helped carry us.
Yeah.
Right. But advice for, I think, anybody kind of
entrepreneurs
getting into entrepreneurship, dude, is like, I think for me, I failed so many times, thousands, if not tens of thousands of hours. And if it wasn't for that failure, I don't think I'd be the person, or I don't think we've been able to get to where we are today. Yeah. And so I would always want to encourage people to fail, to experience. You may not have it all planned out. You may not have like everything, with your I's dotted, your T's crossed. That's okay. Just do.
Yeah. Just
move forward. Just try. And, in time, you will learn and grow from those experiences. And I truly believe that if you're really passionate about something and you're so convicted and you believe in what you're doing and that this is what you're meant to be doing, I mean, there might be a ton of failures and you might lose a lot of time and resources, but that money will come. Mm-hmm. That money will come at some point in time later. Don't worry about that now. Like, just worry about, refining your craft, getting better at what you do, and just moving forward. And it's just how you pick yourself up when you fall down. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate
Thanks for coming on the show. And
thank you for having me.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, man. So I'm a LinkedIn dude. Mm-hmm. So LinkedIn.com/TD Wang. I should pronounce it Wang, but it's TDW+Ang. And then what I would say too, if you want to hit me up on Insta, at TDWANG10.
Nice. So and the website.
And the website, yeah. TDW+Co.com. Holla! I appreciate you, Tony. Thank you so much, man, for your time. I appreciate what you're doing for the community as well, man. No. Yeah. Cheers, dude. Cheers. Salud.
Thank you for tuning into the show. If you found value in what our guests shared and what we share on the show, please feel free to share with your friends and family. We'd love to see you back here. Thank you again. And you can find us on pretty much every social media channel, YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify as well. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Step into the Unscripted Arena.